Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. Welcome back to my channel Economics at Your Home, and now I'm going to start class 11th economics second book, that is Statistics for Economics. As you can see, the first chapter is Economics and Introduction. So I'm going to start with this chapter, students. The learning objectives of this chapter is economics, its introduction, meaning of economics, economic and non-economic activities. So let us begin the chapter. Now, economics. Economics, the word economics has been derived from two Greek words, oikos, which means a house, and nemin, which means to manage. Thus, economics means household management. Earlier, it is used to be called as political economy. So, students, as you can see, that the word economics has been derived from two Greek words, oikos, which means a house, and nemin, which means to manage. Hence, it means household management. So economics, the science of economics is not very old. In fact, its origin can be traced to 1776 when Adam Smith as the father of economics, he is considered as a father of economics, as told earlier when I introduced the subject to you all, and I told you about a book that is an inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth of nation. This book was published by Adam Smith. He wrote this book. With the increase in the areas of human activity, the scope of economics has considerably increased over the years. As you know that the scope of economics is considerably increasing day by day, year by year. So we are going to deal with the term economics. What is it actually, and how economics is divided into different parts. Okay, so let us see meaning of economics. Now there are different definition given by different economists. So let us see. Well, various definitions of economics developed during the course of history have been broadly divided into four parts. So hence you can see here that the various definitions of economics, the terms which are related to economics, or you can say they are essential terms or vital terms in economics which complete the definition of economics, and they are being given by different economists. So let us see. The first is wealth definition, that is given by Adam Smith. Second is welfare definition by Alfred Marshall. Scarcity definition by Ronald Robbins. Growth oriented definition by Sam Wilson. So wealth definition. What is wealth definition? According to Adam Smith, economics is a science of wealth. So economics deals with the science of wealth. In ordinary language, you know, wealth means money. But in economics, the term wealth has a special meaning. Okay, in layman's term or in general term, wealth means money. But here in economics, wealth refers to those goods which satisfy human wants. Okay, as I told you, what are human wants and what is the difference between wants and needs? I have already discussed this. So in economics, wealth has got special recognition or special meaning. That is, wealth refers to all those goods which satisfy human wants. So hope wealth definition is clear to you. Let us see some other points related to wealth definition. Smith was of the view that economics is concerned with the problem arising from wealth getting and wealth using activities of people. So Adam Smith pursued economics as a problem arising from wealth getting and wealth using activities of people. So what does the term wealth getting and wealth using mean? Wealth getting means mostly the problems arises in economics due to wealth. That means how much people are getting, how much people are earning, and how they are using this wealth, how they are utilizing this wealth. He was interested mainly in studying the ways by which the wealth of all the nations could be increased. So Adam Smith was interested in studying the ways by which the wealth of all the nations can be increased, and as you know that he wrote the book An Inquiry into the Wealth of Nation. So this book was written by Adam Smith. Now let us see welfare definition, which is given by Alfred Marshall. He said that economics is the study of man in the ordinary business of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he uses it. So Alfred Marshall is saying that economics is a study of man in the ordinary business of life. In the ordinary business of life, basically it is a study of man, how he gets his income and how he uses it. This is what defined by Alfred Marshall within the context of welfare definition. So thus it is on the one side the study of wealth, and on the other more important side a part of the study of man. So in this you can see that it is also a part of the study of man. According to Marshall, the primary object and end of economics is the promotion of material welfare, which is part of human welfare. So human welfare can only be promoted when material welfare is promoted. Due to this reason, he shifted the emphasis from wealth to welfare. So if it is asked that which economics emphasized on human welfare, so the answer will be Alfred Marshall. Which economist emphasized on wealth? Answer will be not Alfred Marshall. In that case, the answer will be Adam Smith. Adam Smith focused on wealth, whereas Alfred Marshall focused on welfare of human being. Now let's see scarcity definition. What is the meaning of scarcity? As I told you, scarcity refers to shortage of some goods in relation to demand. When something falls short of in relation to demand, demand is more and supply is not as per demand or less than demand, then we say that there is a scarcity. So let us understand scarcity definition. According to Professor Roland Robbins, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce, which means which have alternative uses. As I told, every resources are scarce and it have alternative uses. We have discussed this earlier also, students. So scarcity definition of economics was given by Robbins in his book. Now this scarcity definition is given by Robin in his book, and the book is an essay on the nature and significance of economic science, which was published in 1932. So let us see the fundamental characteristics of scarcity on which the definition is based. That is unlimited wants. As you know that human wants are unlimited. It has no end. As one want is satisfied, another wants rises within us. For example, you are dreaming of bicycle. You get bicycle. You ride it bicycle. You get bored. Then you will dream of bike. Again, you rode that bike. You will not be satisfied. You will wish some other bike or maybe car. So human wants are unlimited. Scarcity of resources, as said, that resources are scarce. And if you go on the definition, there is a definition in class 10 book geography. When you studied the chapter resource and development, there is enough for everybody needs but not for anybody's greed. This definition was given by Mahatma Gandhi. So if we see or analyze the definition, yes, resources are there to satisfy us, to satisfy our need, but not our greeds. So resources shortfall when we go for our greediness, when we try to satisfy our greeds. So scarcity of resources, scarcity refers to limitation of supply in relation to demand of a commodity. As I told that demand is more but supply is less, so that is known as scarcity. Alternative uses, resources are not only scarce but they have different uses. One resource can have multiple uses. There are many uses, so we have to make choice among resources. So we need to make choice among resources being more important. So this scarcity definition has three characteristics. As we discussed right now, unlimited wants, scarcity of resources, and alternative uses. Now scarcity is root of all economic problem. How scarcity is root of all economic problem? Let us see. So students, let us analyze the situation. In order to understand the term that scarcity is the root of all economic problem, let us not go theoretically on the definitions or on the words given. Let us analyze it practically. We human beings have some tendency that if we crave for something, if we want something, we work to get that thing, and in case if we fail to get, our behavior changes. It is obvious, it's a human psychology, human phenomena, that somewhere some changes can be seen. To some person it may affect his behavior to a large extent. In some person it may not affect too much, but yes, it affects. So let us analyze this situation and understand how scarcity is root of all economic problems. Suppose you wish to get a bike and your father said, score 90%, I'll give you a bike. But you score 90% and he failed to give you. Why? Because there was a scarcity of money. He couldn't afford to give you the bike. Now, there will be a problem, not only economically, but psychologically also. You will be affected. You will feel low that you worked hard to get that bike and now you're not getting that. So the problem arises when there's a scarcity, and this problem doesn't only affect the economic life; it affects life or touches life in many ways. So scarcity is root of all economic problem. Scarcity is pervasive. Pervasive means that is present in all, and in fact of economic life for each and every individual in the whole world. So scarcity of resource is a basic reason for existence of economic problem in all the economies. If there is enough resource, so you won't have to think how to use this resource, you don't have to think how to manage the resource. But if resources are less, and if resources may fall scarce, may not be present in huge amount, so you need to distribute that resource in such a way that it doesn't fall short of. And if there is a scarcity, it generally affects people, it affects life of people. So this, we can say that scarcity is root of all economic problems. The basic economic problems arises from scarcity. If scarcity won't word won't exist, we might have not been studying economics. We know resources are there, they have alternative uses, but they are scarce too. Think of your father income, it may fall less as when he comes to fulfill all your demands. There may be scarcity of money. So hence we can say scarcity is root of all economic problems. Scarcity affects our daily life. This is the second topic, but I have covered in this practically in this example only. Now we'll see scarcity affects our daily life, which is given in our book, how it is going to affect our daily life. So scarcity, yes, it affects our life in many ways, not only economically but psychologically and in many other ways. So let us see scarcity affects our daily life. As per your book, it is given, we face various forms of scarcity in our daily life. The long queues at railway reservation counters, crowded buses and trains, shortage of essential commodities, increasing prices of petrol, vegetables or pulses, etc. are all manifestation of scarcity. We face scarcity because the things that satisfy our want are limited in availability. As I said, that resources are available but they are limited, and we cannot make much use of it. We have to analyze, we have to categorize how to use that resources, which one should be fulfilled, what is our priorities, what are most important, then we go for use of that resources. So we define the use of resource as per our need. So yes, scarcity affects our daily lives. Why do we study economics? As I told you, economics is studied because it enables us to understand different aspects of economy and helps in analyzing problems and policies of the government. However, the main reason for the studying of economics can be simplified to a single word: scarcity. Just now I discussed that if there wouldn't be any scarcity, we would have not been studying economics. We are studying economics on the ground that resources are limited, resources are scarce, so we are studying economics. In other words, human wants are greater than the available resource. Yes, no doubt, we human have a tendency to generate the needs. As one needs is fulfilled, as one want is fulfilled, we wish for another thing, then we wish for another thing. So this our wish or this our wants has no end, has no means, and the resources available generally has an end. It is not that the resources are undefinable and they can meet all our needs. They have certain limited, they are in certain limited quantity. So there's a need to allocate these scarce resources for the satisfaction of never ending human wants. Hence economics is concerned with the selection of resources under conditions of scarcity. Hope you understood. Now we'll see growth oriented definition. Well, you can see it's a big definition, but we'll break in different components and we'll understand the term. Let us see. According to Professor Samuelson, economics is study of how man and society choose with or without use of money. So if you break up first point, as it states that economics is study of how man and society choose with or without the use of money to employ scarce productive resources, which could have alternative uses to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumptions now and in future among various groups people and groups of society. So Basically, economics deals with the social science. Economics is one of the branch of social science where we see, and social science is concerned with the society, with the people. So here Professor Samuelson is saying that economics is study of how man and society choose, with or without the use of money, to employ scarce productive resources. That means that how, either using money or without using money, how human being is choosing to employ that scarce productive resources, which could have alternative resources uses, to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumption now and in future among various groups of people and society. For example, if I say land, okay, and that land is scarce, means that land has some in certain limit, okay. It is not that land is in undefined or undefined limit. It has certain limit, okay. There's a piece of land, it has certain, and that piece of land have alternative uses. On that land you can do many things. So it is up to human being that how human chooses that land which is scarce, with or without the use of money, to produce various commodities over that land over time and distribute them for consumption now and in future among various groups of people and society. So hope you understood with relating it with the land. Okay, now Samuelson definition tells us economics is a social science. As I said, yes, economics is a social science because it's a branch of social science, and yes, it's a social science, and it's mainly concerned with the way how society employs its limited resources for alternative uses. So it is modified version of a scarcity definition, as we studied right now, that it is up to human being how intelligent is, how human is rational in choosing those scarce resources in producing goods and services and distributing them among people, various groups of society in future. So Samuelson definition is considered to be the most important and satisfactory. It is not only includes all the issues which are highlighted in the earlier definition, but also takes up the issue of economic growth and social welfare. Now see, let us see this chart. Well, the definition is given by Adam Smith, welfare definition by Alfred Marshall, scarcity definition by Professor Lorne Robbins, growth definition, growth-oriented definition by Professor Samuelson. So you can see the conclusion. Now we will conclude the definition of economics, seeing all four aspects of definition given by Adam Smith, Alfred Marshall, Professor Lorne Robbins, and Professor Samuelson. What is actually economics? Economics is the study of how people and society choose to employ scarce resources that could have alternative uses in order to produce various commodities that satisfy their wants and to distribute them for consumption among various persons and groups in society. So this is the definition of economics, considering all the four important definition of economics, that is wealth, welfare, scarcity, and growth oriented definition. Now we will see economic activities and non-economic activities. Well, you have studied earlier also what is economic and non-economic activities, I think in 9th and 10th. Economic activities, the activities which are undertaken to earn money. All the activities in which humans are engaged and earning money is known as economic activities, and non-economic activities are those activities which are undertaken for satisfaction, means in this people do not earn money, this is for self-satisfaction or for satisfaction of others. So let us see, all human beings are engaged in some activity or in the other in order to satisfy their basic needs. For example, farmers are busy in their fields, workers are working in factories, professionals like CAs or doctors are busy in their professions. Depending on wants, all human activities can broadly be categorized as economic activities, non-economic activities. So human activities are classified as economic activities and non-economic activities. So economic activities are those activities which are undertaken to earn a living. For example, any worker working in a factory, basically he is working in a factory to earn a living, to earn a bread for his family, for himself. Shopkeeper selling goods in his shop, doctor attending to patients in his clinic, etc. They are not doing this for self-satisfaction. Yes, they want to satisfy them and they are doing these activities for earning a living. So that is called economic activities. Economic activities are concerned with all those activities which are concerned with production, consumption and distribution of goods and services which are not available free. So every economy should undertake three main economic activities, that are consumption, production and distribution. What is consumption? Now question arises, what is consumption? Consumption simply means consuming goods and services. An economic activity which deals with the use of goods and services for the satisfaction of human want is categorized or classified or defined as consumption. For example, eating of bread, drinking of milk, wearing watch, listening music, etc. are all consumption activities. Production refers to those activities which are undertaken to produce goods and services in the market for generation of income and satisfying human wants. So they are classified as production. Under production, it is the process of converting raw material into finished product. So there are four factors of production: land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. Though you have studied this in class 9th also. So there are four factors of production and these factors helps in production of goods and services. The activities of farmer, carpenter, trader, teacher, doctor, shopkeeper, etc. all come under production. Now distribution. Distribution is that economic activities which studies how income generated and distributed among factors of production. It deals with determining how the total income arises from production process, known as GDP, and is distributed to land, labor, capital and entrepreneur in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. Now there are four factors of production. So these factors of production, they work and they get remunerated in return. They get some factor payment. For example, on land there is a rent, to labor it's wages, on capital it's interest, and to entrepreneur it's profit. So this distribution is defined as economic activities which studies how income generated is distributed among the factors of production, known as GDP. What is GDP? GDP is gross domestic product. It includes all goods and services which are produced in the economy. So hence economic activities was classified as I told you all, that is consumption, production and distribution. So hope economic activity is clear. Economic activity constitute three main economic activities. They are consumption, production and distribution. Now let us see non-economic activities. What are non-economic activities? Activities are those activities which are not concerned with creation of money or wealth. They are basically done for self-satisfaction, for own satisfaction. For example, housewife cooking food for her family, or a teacher teaching to his own son is an example of non-economic activity. Why? Because they are not going to get any income in return. No housewife is going to get income for cooking food for her family, and no teacher is going to get income by his son or by a family for teaching his own son. So basically this is classified as non-economic activities. So in non-economic activities, there is no monetary reward or benefit. They are done for some sentimental reasons, for love, sympathy, sentiments, patriotism, etc. There are certain emotions connected with these activities. Any religious activity like praying to God, it is done for our own satisfaction. If it satisfies to oneself, then person will do. Political activities performed by different political parties. Social activities like get together, attending parties. So these activities are not going to give you any income in return, hence are classified as non-economic activities. Now there are certain terms. Let us see some terms which are of great use and which one should know being an economics student. So these important terms are, as mentioned, consumer. Now you have understood the term consumption. So the one who is consuming goods and services for satisfaction of his own want is known as consumer, and consumption is an activity. Production is an activity, but who is a producer? A producer is the one who produces goods and services for the generation of income. For example, farmer or manufacturer. Service holder is a person who work for some other person and get paid for it in the form of wages or salaries. They are called service holder. Anyone working in any institution is basically a service holder, but the one who has hired or giving service is known as service provider. A service provider is a person who provides some kind of services to other for a payment. For example, lawyer, doctor, banker, etc. They hire people under them and they pay to them. So they are the service provider. Now, basically the chapter is all covered. We have seen what is consumption, what is production, exchange. You all know exchange means exchange of goods and services. In exchange, the prices determination through forces of demand and supply. Distribution, we have studied public finance. Public finance, due to increase in the role of government, public economies has now emerged as a separate branch of study. Now, public finance has emerged as one of the separate branch of study. So basically, this term we see in business and economics, but it is now emerged as a separate unit or separate branch of study. Public finance is the most important topic of public economies, which deals with the economies of government. It studies mainly about the income and expenditure of the government. So basically, in public finance, we see how the income is generated and how the expenditure occurred basically by the government. So this public finance is a separate branch of a study of and known as public economies. So hope the chapter is clear. We have basically covered all the important topics and aspects which are there in this chapter. So thank you students, go through this video, and thanks to all those who are watching this video. Thank you so much.